is very important in this game, just in general, despite the mode, you know, whether it's convoy convergence or domination. It's all about just rolling. If you can get walking forward, then teams start overcommitting ults against you, and just trying to turn the momentum around is difficult enough to overcome. And I think that's almost like the 7th player on your team, is just who's really walking in that moment, and how can you overcome and turn it back in your favor.
Yeah, Busy Work's a team that I've been studying since the qualifiers, and it's a matter of can they get it done at the biggest point, right? And Nemesis is their biggest challenge yet, for sure. I think that it was a surprise even to see them get 2-0. Nemesis, that is, earlier on by Sentinels, right? This team we thought was going to win. I think you and I both had predicted Nemesis to win, and they did not. And Sentinels looked a lot better, I think, than we anticipated from the roster changes already. And that's the biggest thing, is that Nemesis has stuck together for a while. Sentinels have a new squad, and it looks like that new change up in terms of the roster is enabling them to progress in order to get qualified for playoffs. But Nemesis today have no easy task ahead of them against Busy at Work, who are the up-and-coming team.
At this point, it's become a constant occurrence to see Thor here on the initial selection screen and then not being played by this level of play. Mantis going to be double banned out, and that is super common to what we would expect at this point. Goodbye to Jeff, and lock-in of Luna, the strategist lines, showing a huge presence in the banning phase, which is nothing new for us.
Indeed. I'm curious where the ban phase even goes, right? What that last ban is. Sometimes it's been Torque, sometimes it's been Emma, sometimes it's been Phoenix, sometimes it's been Star-Lord. Those are kind of those duelists that are favored towards the end, but we already have that Ultron Protect coming out from Nemesis as a Luna Snow on the opposite side for Busy at Work, and also banning it out, making sure that Nemesis cannot play that hero. But will they play something like, you know, Invisible Woman instead? We'll have to find out if Nemesis, you know, do allow that, or if Busy at Work allow that through. Never mind, Invisible Woman's immediately banned. Well, and they're also, shit, by the way, there's the Phoenix ban. They're already targeting Busy at Work. I really think this guy, SJW, is like one of the best Phoenixes in the game. I mean, I borderline thought this dude was cheating in the qualifiers. Like, he was that good on Phoenix. So we'll have to find out if they can play anything outside of that. I mean, they play the Star-Lord triple, like you mentioned earlier, and they're getting better at that.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. That's doing their homework, right? If there's something that it will hinder performance, why not remove it and guarantee you get some value out of the ban? I mean, I'm sure the coaches in the back end, those statisticians, and everybody who's just kind of making sure, you know, seeing which bans result in wins. There's so much of that on the back end, and if they've seen success with it, why not keep doing it? Or if there has been success against this team in the past, why not keep doing it? But yeah, we are going to see the ban out here of Warlock and keeping Cloak just as more of an essentially like an alt bot in this moment. You want something that can keep your team sustained on point, as we're seeing a lot of removal of things like Luna and Invis.
Well, yeah, I mean, on the side of Busy at Work, you think they're going to play that 2-2-2 comp, so I don't know if you have to necessarily ban a strategist out here, but you could potentially ban, you know, another one if you really want to, right? You've already banned out, you know, some of the other characters, but Emma makes a lot of sense. I think you can see that Busy at Work are not trying. It's like you said, Shiv, they're playing studied, right? They know what they're going to do on the opposite side for Busy at Work. You know, they like to play the traditional 2-2-2 style. In the meanwhile, I think Busy at Work maybe didn't do the homework too much on Nemesis because, yeah, they're given the Ultron, they're given that Jeff. They're also still available to play Star-Lord, who synergizes with Jeff so well with the Blaster Barrage. He just given that speed boost, go in. No target towards the Vanguards, all target towards these strategists. But, you know, we've seen Nemesis been able to flex before. We'll see if they can do it again. This is the most important time to have that flexibility that we talked about before, Shib.
Yeah, seeing the Ultron, typically we see that Ultron paired with the Mantis. That damage boost is obviously very strong for Ultron. Not necessary. We are going to see in these next patches some alt increases for things like that Ultron and for the Cloak on the opposition that was saved up. So that may change up the meta and how things look, or will maybe potentially affect this triple strategist idea, as we are going to see more of that reduction in healing coming with the team up there from Namor and just Venom off ultimate. 30% after every Q is crazy. So a lot of new aspects of the game coming in here with more of that reduction, and I'm excited to see how it's going to look into these compositions. Looking at that little guy right there.
You got crushed. Me up. He's got crushed by the friggin' split screen. Damn. Rest in peace. He's dead now. Ignore the fact that he's on your screen on the bottom right. He's fine. He's fine. He's okay. They're rolling out. It's like you said, they're already running out with that whole Namor comp for Busy at Work alongside triple.
Yeah, we are going to be on Krakoa, which has been a rare occurrence, in this tournament so far, just due to the luck of the draw. Domination pull off the rip, and SJW going to be here on that Namor, as you had discussed. So there's not going to be too much movement off the rip here. Teams are just figuring each other out. A lot of presence on point by Team Nemesis, while the entirety of Busy at Work is trying to hold around this tree. At this point, there is one on here for Busy at Work maintaining that position, and that is going to be Axry. And now it is going to be turned back in their favor, and everybody figuring each other out. Rita's going to find that pick onto Shocker. Goodbye to Ultron. The Ultron battles in the sky could be pretty crazy to watch right now, and still one up here, and they're still not able to get this point capped. It's going to be a bit of a stall while they figure out each other's comps.
Yeah, they're still up at the moment. I mean, you have Squids as well constantly putting in damage. You still have heals from the high ground. Kraz able to trade it, but it's not enough, and SJW finds the final eliminations on this objective. They're playing, Busy at Work is now, it's interesting, the wrinkle into this is sort of playing this King of the Sea composition with Namor being your only duelist. Hard focusing on keeping him alive, making sure he's able to play as aggressive as he wants. And off that first fight, you can see it panned out. However, Ultra now available, Shib, and these are the fights that really matter and can send you over the top. How much can Axry do in that Hulk form? And then also, can they sustain, maybe connect also onto that It's Jeff with that Namor, with that Hornet Proteus?
Yeah, but right now everybody's playing very passive. All right, there's the movement. You need to see that moving forward. There's plenty of time on, so there's no major rush, but playing a little bit too slow. Both sides really just trying to poke like crazy. Zero Meta going to find that pick on a Shocker now, and that's going to put them up a number again. Busy at Work almost 40% on, and at this point out goes the It's Jeff. This looks like it could be threatening. Waiting out for the Magneto. Great positioning there with Jeff, taking the high side, and spitting ally back. Melophobia going to find two. Really well played there. That was massive. You can actually use those high side positionings and still grab those who are on the floor below you. So you'll see a lot of that from Jeffs at this level of play. Really well done.
Why did the Midi not get healed there too? Wasn't he in the middle of the Eternal Bond? That was very interesting. Amadian still went down into that ultimate regardless. Daggers come through, and it's like you mentioned, Melophobia being the catalyst for Nemesis winning that fight. Can he do it again, right? In that last fight, Hulk not able to use ultimate because of that. Same thing with Zero Meta. Right, both ultimates that were huge impact changes, and that's why Jeff is so good. I don't know, where was SJW with that whale, right? Where was the team to counter it? We'll find out in the upcoming fights as he's down that It's Jeff this fight.
Yeah, it makes it more difficult to land, perfect frame ultimates onto Jeff when Jeff is doing things like ulting on top of a trunk. You know what I mean? Because you expect the low side, and then you try to place it up there, and by the time that's happening, Jeff's already moving. So it is tricky, as we see Axry now going to go into Hulk form. Zero Meta going to bring out the dance floor. Fate of Both Worlds, Prince going to be taking out Shocker, making a two-piece onto Amadian. Why don't you? As Busy at Work wants this point back, but Nemesis doing a good job retaking early on in the percentage here, still making them hold at 56 as they're climbing closely. Numbers up still for Busy at Work, but Nemesis still holding on, and out we go with the Fate. This could be a whale opportunity, but right into, that was a really good play there to head under the waterfall.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, that was the game-changing play right there, is going into that portal, and now that It's Jeff is free against that Namor. However, it's going to be against the Luna Snow. Did he lose her? He might have for now, but at least he's getting out with his life.
Yeah, we've seen a bit of that, some movement. Obviously, that was focused on trying to find the back line. Ricky going to be taking out Redis. Redis going to find Shocker, but scatter onto Zero. Nemesis still holding on to the point 80% after Busy at Work looked really good on the initial take. Still up with this ultimate SJW, and Prince ready to try to retake once more, but Crazemang and Amadian are going to try to counter right back. Ult advantage, roughly even, as we'll only see max one more ult from scatter early on in this next fight.
I mean, SJW heard the Venoms behind. Kraz ready to go for that dive, but in the sky, Amadian now is, and they're all split across the map. Can they live while being the split and even find eliminations? Nemesis not able to find much because it's avoided from Busy at Work at the moment.
And notice the focus there on the squids, even in ultimate. That's how valuable those squids are. Amadian immediately finding SJW post-ultimate there is huge. 99% here for Nemesis now, who are looking consistent and holding against Busy. Down, Melophobia finds one immediately onto Axry, excuse me, and that's going to be enough for point one as Nemesis take that point back and do not give it up. And that's what you need to do. If you lose point early like that, coming back and snagging it at 56% is the way. It guarantees a couple fights instead of one fight territory.
Yeah, absolutely huge work from Nemesis to bring it back. I mean, the only real complaint you could say about how they did that was, maybe they're spreading themselves too thin at points, but that was super early on, right? They're able to figure it out. And right now, I mean, this Namor comp isn't really working out to the highest degree for Busy at Work, and you saw maybe some frustration there from SJW, right? He just yeeted out a Hornet Proteus at the very end. Like, he just sent that whale into its own demise, right? Basically sent it to SeaWorld well, you know, it was not a good situation for that whale, okay? That's all I'll say. And right now, Busy at Work have to come back without that huge ultimate to counter that Itch Jeff from Melophobia, who appears to be showing that sharks are stronger than whales.
Yeah, I like that. Again, 4 finals there from Melophobia. I mean, that is the power of Jeff. This is less so of a Jeff map. There is a few off-map locations depending on where you're able to find those Itch Jeffs, but this will be more of a displacement location where likely Jeff will try to just pull them away from point, put them in a weird corner, and just try to deal some damage. There are a couple of places where we can see an off-map, but typically it's a little bit too long of a path, especially if you're fighting on the close side of point. There is going to be some Ultron play, and this is a pretty strong Ultron map where you can play around this high side, you can play around these structures lifted up, even, you know, around the point and get a ton of damage out. You see now Shocker trying to make that happen against Redis, and both of which will have that rage, and it starts now from Shocker. Rage of Ultron onto SJW, trying to force out cooldowns. Looking at the team now to keep them healthy, right back towards the back line. That's the power of Ultron. But Redis did not panic, held on to that, and Scatter now gonna try to get them moving here with the Psionic. Prince is walking. Do we see Axry walking? We do not. Axry gonna drop back towards the team inside of that invisible boundary, and Ricky gonna commit here. Can actually use Cloak to follow up with a Turtle Bond and head towards a portal and take the portal out, but that will not happen. The portals don't come through until 50%.
Here's that is Jeff 2 on top of Madian finding the elimination, and sure, you're coming with Ultron's rage, but it's on to targets who all have cooldowns to stay alive because they were able to have perfect ultimate usage on the side of Nemesis, right? Busy at Work forced to use their ults a lot sooner. And now with that fight, Nemesis win it yet again, and look like the Nemesis of old, Shib. They're rotating well, ultimates connecting at the right time, avoiding Busy at Work when they're, you know, or like forcing him to use like a dance floor and then immediately into that invisible boundary. So right now, Busy at Work are definitely looking a bit amateur compared to Nemesis, just based on proxy in terms of how this team is looking formed.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. As we'll start up now. Nemesis is holding on to ult advantage, should have 3 ready. SJW going to be ready with Prince. There will be 2 matched right back by Busy, who need to retake, but down in ults is tricky now as we start once more. Look a little bit forward. The dive comes out instantaneously by Craze. It is followed up by Amadian, who's coming in heavy. Galactic Legend. Prince going to find Scatter, but Craze onto Silent. The trade of the strategist in the backline is potentially a little more valuable, but we will find out shortly as the fight proceeds. SJW on the chase. Unfortunately, no squids available for this angle. Good movement here by Nemesis, and Shocker going to be taking out Redis out of the sky. Amadian onto Axry, Ricky onto Prince, Craze Bang on SJW, and again, Nemesis holding on, looking lights out, but they did commit every ult.
And I think just from what I've watched of Busy at Work, this is a team that is incredibly mechanically skilled, but, you know, at points can lack the fundamentals. And when you play a triple strategist composition, now you're going over to Starlord for SJW. I think that makes a little bit more sense than that Namor comp, the King of the Seed composition. It makes a little bit more sense, I think, to play this sort of traditional Starlord comp, but it might be too little too late, Shib, as they're really entering with not a lot of time left in the bank.
Yeah, ult advantage going to be up here for Busy at Work as immediately as I say that Rage of Ultron is out. Where is the focus? We don't see just yet. Axry going to take out Ricky, and that's where the focus clearly was. Make it 2 pieces. Redis now finds Shocker. Going to try to hold on and bide some time, but 99% here for Nemesis now. It's about the discussion of holding these ults, but, you know, maybe you commit as a 2-piece again. No, excuse me, comes out for Busy, driving Nemesis back, and they will hold on to these ults as you should and retake an ult fight, as we'll have Scatter, Craze, Melophobia, and Amadian ready for ults in the next fight. Ricky too. This is going to be very difficult for Busy at Work here. They need to find a pick early before these get committed.
100%. And the way Busy at Work won matches previously was through like Redis on the Jeff and stuff, right? This guy has been that standout player. Can he do it again? In this case, Nemesis has been able to pop off with Shocker and also Madian finding picks in the middle of the fight, but they have ults ready to go, like you mentioned, Shib, and they can come in with the Galactic Legend really whenever they want.
Yeah, it'll be a good initiation tool to force some stuff out if they want to. And yes, it is popped here for Nemesis. Going to be matched right back by an invisible boundary. Just hold up in the invisible boundary, and it's matched again, this time by SJW, who says goodbye to Amadian. That's going to be 1 up here for Busy at Work doing what they need to do.
No.
Hold on to this point.
that was crazy. Anyway, back to the point. Now we have this Venom just trying to stall it out. Gets grabbed by Emma. Shocker still has the portal if he really wants to try to live, but trying to sustain the healing, but Meteor ran over the top side, and Redis is there.
Rita's onto the pick on Shocker. Scatter now going to commit here with a Psionic, looking directly at Ultron, but using this ult does make you immune to that walk. And Rita's turning it right back onto Scatter. Great play here now by Ritas, who is now holding on with trying to get this point back, 52%, but 99 still for Nemesis. But they committed virtually everything. They'll have Craze for the next fight, and nothing ready for Busy at Work. This is going to be a crazy neutral battle. It's all about who can get these strategist ults first. It looks like Zero, Meta, and Silent will be ready for action. Whereas if you look at Nemesis, there's not going to be a lot committed.
And not a lot committed indeed, and they almost gave up the point there, Busy, or they did give up the point there just in overtime, trying to maybe force them off. But really, I mean, this could be huge from Krasmane coming up. Zero doesn't have that dance floor just yet, but you can still get eliminations through it if you perfectly time it, if you get the right damage boost with Terra Cape and stuff. So we'll see what happens in the upcoming fight. A lot is on Krasmane for sure, and maybe the follow-up from Immediate.
Yeah, and we will start another fight. It's now getting into dangerous territory on the side of Nemesis. Is Busy at Work is up at the 90%. Oh, Scatter and Craze, though, as I say that, find a two-piece and put them up heavy in numbers, forcing out cooldowns from Zero. And now, again, Nemesis is looking like they're in a good spot. That is not going to be a great look for the side of Busy, who have to try to stay on point. And goodbye to Zero as Krasmane commits. Out goes Jeff from the side of Melaphobia, who is going to find an ally, spit them away to safety. And here comes the portal from Prince. Craze onto Ritas now, still up in numbers, very low. Out goes that boundary at the perfect time to keep the team healthy. And we are going to see a bit of a stall, but at this point, it's looking up for the side of Nemesis. Can they keep the momentum on their side?
In the sky, Median goes. SJW tries to fly away, but you can't escape all this healing, all this sustain on the objective. You also had SJW's ult that you're desperately missing. Same thing with Ritas. Overtime takes down Chip. That portal goes away, and it's just Prince left on the point than I have Agamotto.
Yeah, Nemesis is doing just what they do, staying consistent, staying on top of it, and even though they lost that ultimate fight, come back and win a disadvantaged fight and get picks prior to that Luna ult. That is exactly what they needed to do, so great focus there, and likely good ult tracking in terms of who they needed to look at.
Yeah, there's a reason why I think that we favored Nemesis to even win out of this group stage, and you know, it was a surprise to have them lose to Sentinels earlier on, but you could see exactly why this team, they're well practiced, they played together for a while now, even being Shikigami previously, now over to Team Nemesis. They appear to really have not lost a step and look even better than last week, just in terms of team play, Shib. I mean, overall across the board, it was a phenomenal team effort out of the squad. And on the opposite side for Busy at Work, a tough map to lose, but it is only domination. At least we maybe have some different ones coming up moving forward.
Yeah, I'm curious. This might be one of the few times we've seen Cloak, Ultron, Jeff on the side of virtually any team, but in Nemesis, and I'm curious about the damage boost potential plays there with Venom, if it's a similar story. I mean, you know, it's not nearly as much with the 40%, but if there's some sort of calculation or, you know, against the strategist that these teams have figured out with Cloak, I know Cloak brings a whole new level of damage boost into, you know, the fold here, so it's difficult to understand all the different potential plays as you see a huge play here from Melaphobia on the high side with that Jeff eat.
Yeah, these Jeff players do so much in terms of just like really min-maxing the hero. Like you just saw him like wall falling. We see all these Jeffs do it too, right? They'll split their teammates while in transition right off the map, and you would think that's like risky and stuff, but all these Jeff players know the timing, the windows, where the death boxes are and stuff. So yeah, phenomenal work from him on the Jeff, and this is what we talked about for Busy at Work too. I think they actually took advantage of Jeff last time. This time they cannot, because of Team Nemesis focusing on the hero and getting it out of the way early. And I gotta be honest, that Luna Snow Protect didn't really enable them, right? It didn't seem like it did much in that upcoming fight. I mean, Ricky was able to play Cloak and Dagger, and they're able to take advantage. Like when you get it, when you're pressing the gas pedal, right? When you're going forwards, you can take advantage of Luna Snow, but not really when Team Nemesis is hard diving you and really making your backline life stressful.
Yeah, I mean, and there's, you know, no major shield out there. They had Magneto, but still, Magneto's shield does not stop things like this Psionic Seduction here from Scatter, who does take this MVP, finds 10 finals. It is a composition, especially when you have Ultron in the sky and things like Star-Lord. You know, initially it was starting out there on, you know, they had Namor, but instead it's elected to go Star-Lord. But you can actually counter things like Ultron and Star-Lord. If you find Ultron, obviously Ultron's using ult, it does not counter, but Star-Lord's, you know, countered by Emma with that ultimate. You can see, you can force them out of the sky. So really good choice and selection there, and it clearly worked out with a nice MVP from Scatter.
Yeah, huge MVP from him, and I think the team played around him well, right? Just constantly diving in, setting up those Venom tentacles, and then you could see when everybody's looking at Kraz in the case of that dive, and also a Madian, you just have in this case Scatter pop off just consistently on Emma Frost, and we've seen how important that hero is, and we've heard it before from people like Dongmin. But what's more important, Shib, is that map number 2. I mean, first game is sort of that testing grounds for a lot of these teams. We'll see if Busy at Work can come back on map number 2 after this break.
Smoke screen! I'm hunkering down. Judge! Jury! Executioner!
Welcome back, everyone, as we just witnessed Nemesis take home their first win against Busy at Work. It was looking back and forth at first, but then they looked very dominant in some of these fights. Again, heading towards map 2, which I just had word is Hall of the Jalia. No surprise there, buddy.
Nope. Yeah, no, Hall of the Jalia makes a lot of sense. I think, especially for this team and what they've done before. And also with, they like to play the Namor, and I think this is a more traditional Namor map, right, Shib? It feels like it's better here, especially when your Phoenix gets banned.
Yeah, I agree. I think there's a lot of lane focus areas and good height to take, and you can actually use Bubble with Namor to take that height himself if need be. I know you see less of that in pro play, but if you dominate that high side and those lane phases, it can be very difficult to press through, and that is why teams like this map. It's very much a roll or be rolled map, in my opinion, and this has the potential to bring back some of those initial strain strategies we saw in early seasons of Ignite Stage 1.
Absolutely. Yeah, you could see some early targets of that hero, but immediate Mantis bans come out, and well, honestly, Busy Work could go for something else here as Nemesis go for that Protect, but honestly, I like the Ultron. It did, like, stats-wise, Redis did well last game. It's kind of how Ultron is. Like, he's one of those characters you don't visually see in the elimination feed, but always is a character that you have to worry about. But they keep protecting this Luna Snow because they want the Snowflake. It would make sense. But I feel like a better idea is just because, how good SJW is on the Phoenix, for example. I wouldn't even not mind if he got to play that character. But they want to play Luna Snow Ship because they're hard trying to play around him and give, as much of a pocket as they possibly can to SJW, basically, and play more King comps.
Yeah, it's looking like a similar banning situation from what I'm seeing so far, nearly across the board, which you and I have both said, you kind of want to change some stuff up, but it's tough when the meta is, running these strategists. So you really can't allow one team to have the pick of the litter of these strategists and then, force the others to try to figure it out. So we saw some change there as teams were pulling out the cloak, which we haven't seen as much of in this tournament nearly, just due to the fact that some of these more quote unquote off strategists like Jeff, like Ultron are getting more play. So you can't have only nearly one main line if need be and still make it work. But yeah, cloak getting some play there. It did work. So we will see what they want to run again, as the Emma is going to be locked in this time for Busy at Work.
Yeah, it makes sense. They go for the Ultron ban on the opposite side because of it, and the Cloak and Dagger Protect for Nemesis. And that's the odd part for Busy at Work, because I feel like I don't even know if Nemesis would ban out Luna, if I'm going to be honest. Like, I feel like they're trying to focus these other strategists, these off strategists, like the Mantis, the Ultron, the Jeff, trying to get a matchup there that'll benefit them. But this time, it's the Ultron Protect for Nemesis that keeps that hero, and Jeff gets banned against them. So maybe that'll be the difference maker, is not putting Melophobia on the Jeff. But I think that Adam Warlock actually does better on these type of maps where it is a bit more front to back style.
Yeah, like we talked about, it's more lane focused, so front to back can absolutely work here. And things like, you know, ooh, okay, we're flexing a potential magic show. I don't think it's going to stay long because it's crazy. It's obviously going to get back on that Venom, which found a ton of success. Scatter as well on the Emma. You know, getting that pick is going to be huge for them as we start up here again. Hall of Dajalia, this one selected by Busy at Work. Losing team chooses Convoy or Convergence and their map. And then if it does go to game 3, the team that won map 1 and lost, game 2 will then find the final, map of their choice, but it has to be that other mode. It has to be Convoy or Convergence. Whatever was not played in map 2 is setting up the penny line. You know, this is controversial because you can get a pick with it, but sometimes, you can just take some damage and then allow your strategist to get a little bit of a jump start on their alt charge as long as you wait for the timer to start. So I'm not sure how I feel about it.
Yeah, I don't know either. I mean, I'm fine with it. I'm cool with breaking the game. You know, I'm a big game breaking enjoyer. Didn't seem to be that Busy at Work took advantage of it though. In their case, maybe just playing on the high ground, setting up their defense hard, right? Not trying to think about those sort of things, because it's sort of also, if anything, it's gamemanship, right? If you're having to think about that before instead of your actual strategy, that could influence your decisions later on.
And we will begin now. A ton of different positioning here. We are going to see this time a change-up. SJW is going to be on Starlord. We're going to see a traditional composition on defense here for Busy at Work with that 2-2-2. Starlord is going to be played by SJW. We're going to see Redis now on the Namor. So that is going to be a little bit of a shift up from what we saw last time. Cray's going to try to retake in an off angle and just force eyes backwards, allowing his team to walk forward. Well played here as Redis now up on the high side, holding on here with the Namor, dealing a ton of damage and just allowing those squids to do what those squids do. And it can make Star-Lord's life very difficult because all this juking does not matter when the squids don't miss. Out goes that Gamma. They're going to focus those heavy. Notice how they're doing that. If you're climbing ladder, break the squids. Pop the squids. Very important. Make sure you take that into your climb as now we look over the backside of Shocker, who does fall here for Redis.
Yeah, nice shot. I mean, they're taking a gamble, right? Because they're looking towards those squids only. And SJW, by the way, Whale goes out from Redis. But yeah, because they're taking that gamble on focusing on the backline, focusing on the divers on top of those squids, they're leaving just that Namor alone to find those shots. And Portal committed by Prince, at least. That's something for Team Nemesis. Also having 2 ticks. Not bad from Busy at Work at the current moment is at the moment. They do use a few ults, use that portal, but still hold on to the point. 2 minutes and 30 seconds left to go. Nemesis could go aggressive with that Ultron's Rage, but might be met on the opposite side with that Galactic Legend.
Yeah, I mean, forcing Portal out like that is a huge win, though. It's a 3-minute cooldown. There's no shot they get it while still holding point 1 unless the OT is just absolutely crazy. So that is a win here for the side of Nemesis now. So out we go with Shocker going to commit here with the Rage of Ultron, just dealing a ton of damage and focusing on those squids first, right back down to the front lines and putting some damage into Hulk there. Still holding this high side positioning, pretty much pocketing and playing around the side of Amadian. Out goes that invisible boundary now, and the team is going to elect to try to make it happen with the Piece of the Abyss. Does not work. SJW, and that is countered right back, like we had talked about with the Psionic Seduction, forcing SJW to play away.
And right now, I mean, they're slowing it down at the current moment because they didn't, find eliminations in that Eternal Bond, but the hard pocket still comes onto Amadian, who now goes into the sky, met by Prince, trying to come with the Avagomoto, actually finds the back line, but not able to get more than just Ricky. Nice slowdown from Axry.
Melophobia going to bring the team right back. Ricky Scatter, Amadian right back in the fight. All these picks as Crazemang as well. Really good alt there from the side of Melophobia, bringing the entire team back, and they're recommitting fully. Out goes Redis with the Whale. Scatter going to take out Redis instead of vice versa, though. The Bond keep the team healthy. Everybody getting collapsed on now. No portal back. Nemesis with a huge res is going to play off it and drive them. Almost taking the full first point here. We are very close to .3 tick.
Yeah, very close, but not taking it just yet. I mean, the front line of Busy at Work, staying healthy, staying here on the point. Also, everybody kept healthy by their strategist gameplay. Silent Blaze committing that invisible boundary, met by Ultron's Rage, but no elimination just yet. And Scatter eventually finds 2, though, with a huge roundhouse kick.
Yeah, I mean, that was a huge play by Silent, immediately counteracted by some insane focus by the side of Nemesis, who now get .1. I mean, I really thought Busy at Work played that incredibly well with that ult, and they would have had 0 following up after the fact, potentially SJW there on the Galactic Legend, and maybe held on for the whole first point, but just some really solid focus by the side of Nemesis with that synergy we talked about, understanding each other's style of play and making sure they commit together on a target.
Yeah, Scatter's also been keeping his hold every time in the sky. SJW is there. He tries to go with that Silent Seduction to counter. we'll have to watch out in that fight. And also that invisible boundary used, like you mentioned, meant for Ultron's rage, where it can be built faster than that invisible boundary. And now here we start out early with SJW and his ult, maybe trying to force out something. But now eventually Kraz just commits his own ult, and they kind of back it up. 2 ults for basically nothing on Busy Work's side, just the Galactic Legend.
Yeah, some double committed there of the Legends, and we are going to see some spin to win again from Nemesis on the attack. 2 minutes, 20 seconds on. Busy at work with no else available just yet. Redis very close. Prince now with that Meteor M to match Ricky. You know, they love playing. Nemesis really loves playing that Cloak and Dagger, but it can be tricky to a Meteor M. But forcing out that Meteor M here from Prince allows Ricky. Oh, wow. As I say that, Ricky gets dunked on, but is going to be res right back and have that ult available. So, again, these res is getting so much value and negating multiple ultimates just due to the fact that the team's coming right back after they get picked, and they're still holding this space and still holding on to Ricky's ultimate, which will now not be able to be contested except for the whale from Redis.
A huge pick off from Redis at the very least, leaving a median out of this upcoming fight. That's a lot of your damage gone, but it's a matter of delaying. Here comes a whale on the top side. He connects, but the drone keeps him alive, and also the Eternal Bond is here from that frontline scatter. Leaves the fight, though, from Zero Meta with a nice clap.
And notice as soon as that whale comes out, Ricky is going to use that ultimate and find a pick on a Zero Meta. Shocker now onto Silent 3 as a Median gets SJW. Ricky onto Prince, and that is going to be a wipe. And they do get point 2. Nemesis using this momentum once more to keep it walking. 2 minutes 45 on. Busy at work. Got to find their footing here. No ults available just yet. Should be close to SJW in this next fight.
You know, right now, Nemesis putting on a performance that is definitely noteworthy, considering 2 minutes and 30 seconds left in the last phase is not a small amount on the time bank. Busy Work have to find something going here, Shib. I mean, they've got to connect maybe with a Galactic Legend or those Meteor M's. I mean, Prince able to find them, but every time Nemesis comes back to those reses, like you mentioned, Redis again finds this opening pick. It's that mechanical skill that brings Busy Work back into it.
I mean, it was discussing Meteor M, but the true real value is if you can get a Meteor M on someone who's already committing an ultimate. That's the real trade there. It's a one-up, if you will, instead of just an even spread. But so, yeah, I mean, again, good work there, but being able to shut down things like Ricky doing a good job of waiting till all of these, and just in terms of ult tracking, right? Waiting till all of these ultimates are committed and then using Eternal Bond, because it can be very difficult to have a successful Eternal Bond when there is no Magneto bubble to protect you, or even thing damage reduction, any of that. You really got to just focus on your positioning, and forcing Cloak and Dagger into a comp where you don't have those protections is a sign of a team that is very confident on that hero.
Ultron ready to start it out for Nemesis, maybe trying to force out something out of Busy Work so they then can go for a res play. As soon as they push forward, though, they find the pick on Prince. He gets grabbed for free, and this ult's a little bit too late now from Zero Meta. Maybe they could find a trade at the very least, but Mellows might be still hiding here with this res.
And we see Actually committing as well, and there is another massive res from Melophobia. Everyone coming back once more after all of this commitment. Again, just great positioning and understanding by Melophobia. This is the 3rd in a row now we've seen that got virtually the entire team after a heavy commitment of ultimates from the side of Busy at Work, and that is the power of Warlock. You see a lot of success stories, and you see some failures, but this has been a huge success story today for Adam Warlock.
That's an interesting invisible boundary here too, committed, but they're able to find Melophobia, who has the self-res. So they're kind of just committing ults just back to back to back to back. Maybe they could find something now with this Meteor M. Kraz goes down, also not going to get res, so that's a huge pick off from the back line.
Yeah, and they still come back. Well done here by Busy at Work, who did not commit Redis or Prince and still made that work through those plays. So, again, very strong job by Busy at Work, who are now looking like they're finding their footing. Zero Meta is finding a 2-piece here, getting Melophobia once more. And at this point, they're holding them very tight. Do not allow those portals if they were coming through. It's going to be about can they get that touch, and they should be able to with 17 on, but we will see shortly.
And it's coming in the very end. I mean, Busy Work, huge pickoffs found of the previous fight. Manian goes in the sky, met by Meteor M with the Galactic Legend.
And trying to get over that shield. Unfortunately, not able to do so. Prince right into the corner there. Trying to make it happen around, but also playing the game of can you make sure you throw it before it pops. It's got 800 HP. Out we go with the whale. This one does land into Melophobia, who's very low. Does get healed up amazingly. Well done here. Shocker going to turn around and put focus onto the Hulk. Amadian going to be taking out Silent in the back line. Prince very low now. The team keeping their momentum forward. Nemesis looking lights out. Finds another pick here onto Hulk. Goodbye, Bruce. Craze keeping that space. And at this point, Busy has to make a big touch play. Zero Meta ready with the dance floor. SJW with the Galactic Legend and the invisible boundary very soon here for Silent. These could be ults that could turn the tides, as there is nothing ready for Nemesis. You have to commit now.
And they have to, and they also have to play around the res too. So as this overtime ticks down, the win condition is going to be having to come back in late with that res off of that objective. Prince able to find Ricky too, forcing that res out early, meaning that ult is removed. But they also have to keep touching this objective, right? Constantly. Here's the Eternal Bond to stall out the stall out the payload.
All right, and we were keeping this forward, and there's an aggressive ult again by Silent. That ult now with a heavy slow can be used very offensively too, as we saw in the last point on push here on 3 early on in point 3. Excuse me, up we go in the skies. Regis onto Ricky and Amadian now. SJW on a shocker scatter onto Silent, but it is likely not enough now. The portal's coming through. Will they touch? They are not able to. Nemesis almost making it happen. Well done by Busy at Work.
He's right there. We go back to, Busy at Work's best maps. It does feel like this is one of them, and it's as you called before. I mean, this is one of the best maps they can play on in general. That's why they force it so often. You can see exactly why. It's practiced well. They love to play these more traditional 2-2-2 comps, and they're one of the better teams at it. It just is unfortunate that the meta-wise hasn't really favored a ton of teams. But if we've seen anything today, I mean, it's possible to play these compositions if the right bands come out, Shib, right? And because they're able to play the Emma Frost, they get a ton of damage on that front line. They're still able to play that Namor alongside it, along with this Star-Lord. And it's looking like you can play these 2-2-2 comps. We saw earlier with Envy doing the same thing.
The trick now for Busy at Work is to use the momentum that this is a winnable game. It is very much a winnable game. You can get to point 3, although it is difficult there, especially at this level of play when the spawn is so close on point 3. But it is absolutely winnable. There's no guaranteed tie, as if they had pushed all 3. They started showing up there in that moment. You see these stats here. SJW 28-2. You see 10 finals from Regis. They are getting these final hits, but can they translate it here on attack? As we will see that triple comp being held here for the side of Nemesis and Amadian going to be solo duelist, and Scatter and Craze making no changes on those vanguards as they found success in the past.
It's a huge change up. We'll find out. Now we come on to defense. Right, Nemesis, did they get it far enough, Shib? That's the big question we have to ask for that defensive side. And for Busy at Work, did they get it? Or did they stop them right at the correct time at the very, very end? We'll have to find out on the attack now. 120 meters is all that Busy Work have to do, but it's one of the harder maps to push on attack. And in general, as we've talked about before, Shib, this game favors defenses because of how strong Stratus ults are.
Exactly, and you can see now some decent positioning, forcing them in that choke. They're going to break open that wall on the left side. As you can see there, it does give them 2 points, so they can't just be stuck by one angle. Good positioning to hide here from the side of Shocker, who is just maintaining that low ground. But SJW now going to try to track and follow suit, and that is some good, insane tracking onto Shocker. Goodbye. Spin to win now with the Blaster Barrage. Going to follow up and keep the pressure forward as Zero Meta now takes out Crazemang. 2 down for Nemesis. Potential portal coming in here from Shocker. It is, but will he be able to get there in time? 1 tick on, and counting Regis onto Scatter, and at this point going to try to hold and get onto that portal and see if they can keep the position, but it'll be dicey into an Emma as you're coming through on Strange. They'd elect to not even try.
Yeah, huge. That was a quick take from Busy at Work. Just run in with those with abilities, right? Just constantly pressure out these flank angles. Right time, right place. Make sure that you can just don't let them set up, right? Make sure they are forced to use that bond early, and once they do, I mean, you can take advantage. Great work from Busy at Work.
Yeah, and again, talking about this more standardized composition here from the side of Busy at Work. No shields up for the most part, besides Prince there with Emma. Very small shield in the grand scheme of things from some of these vanguards. So clearly making this composition work, being very aggro and trying to hit some of these big ults onto the side of Nemesis, who will only have 1 duelist. So let's see if they can keep it going. Busy at Work now up in ultimates as we see Silent going to pop that invisible boundary to counter up from Shocker with the Rage of Ultron. Teams going to be holding here. Prince now going to find Melophobia. Again, Busy at Work up a number. Out goes Folk from Axry. We see Amadian pop 1. Going to force out some cooldowns. Good positioning here. Well done by... Oh, and that's just SJW trying to keep the tracking going. Ricky goes down. Axry going to find Melophobia. We see SJW on a Scatter again. And once more, a great defensive hold in these fights. And Zero Meta is getting a ton of picks here on the Luna Snow.
Yeah, I mean, that's the lethality of Luna Snow for sure. Zero Meta, one of the better players at doing that, and it's because they're able to find also Melophobia, in that self-res, in that cocoon, come back into the fight. Now he's not going to have that passive, has to sort of hide. They're also playing for that win condition of the res, but it is not working because Busy at Work are hunting down Melo. But they have ultimate advantage now, Shib. This whale could be huge, though, to capitalize off of everybody seduced by Prince on Emma Frost.
And we begin. Up we go, forcing out the cooldown to take height. That's that height I was mentioning before. Mating going to collapse heavy. Goodbye to Redis. Now, in maintaining this position, here with Star-Lord ready to drop down with the Blast Barrage if need be, but the whole team has to drop backwards due to the nature of that good positioning on the high side with the duelist, and that's why high ground really can work. It'll enable you to get a good LOS without them being able to see you, and instead you're shooting down on heads instead of up towards them, which gives you an advantage. So again, Canadian, good positioning there, driving the whole team back. Also up, being launched here by Prince, trying to commit with Redis, but getting them walking, potentially followed up by a whale, could be massive, and that's a two-piece without even needing to commit it. Prince, actually, SJW, Prince again, silent, and that's almost all of them now, as Nemesis could be losing point 2 here with an insane amount of time on the clock.
Yeah, that is uncharacteristic out of them to keep kind of just going in and getting picked off so quickly. I mean, it's unbelievable the time to eliminate. Busy at work right now are just kind of removing, deleting people instantly. And this is really just what we talked about earlier when it comes down to mechanical skill. This team just absolutely can farm you if you are in, the wrong place at the wrong time, and especially on those dives from Krasman getting hard focused by the team with Busy at work. They barely even need to commit many ultimates. Not many teams can actually do that consistently.
Yeah, and again, I want to shout out the fact that Busy has been running a more traditional composition in terms of the 2-2-2 and still making a ton of stuff happen. Redis onto a Madian now. We're going to put them back up in numbers once more early on. The whale goes out. Scatter going to find this pick onto Redis. This is the second time we've seen that trade after the whale falls. And here comes the defensible side now from Nemesis, but 4 minutes on is going to be difficult. We've seen it happen before. Can they clutch up in this moment? They are up in ults again. Craze, Scatter, Melophobia, and a Madian holding on, where you see Zero, Axry, and Prince. And excuse me, Axry does not have all. There's just going to be Zero and potentially Prince shortly.
Yeah, right now, huge avoiding of that whale earlier on. Mady now on the front line with the Blast Barrage, but there's still 3 minutes and 30 seconds. Right now, Busy at work are given a huge time bank to work with, and they don't even need it at the moment because Axry finds Melophobia, forcing that res. But Silent Blaze going down is huge. Maybe Melo's going to have to use the res. Never mind, he doesn't really have to because Zero's also down, but he's going to commit at this fight anyway due to everybody's HP pool falling low and the cart also needing to stay at this objective.
Yeah, Prince finding a two-piece at the end there, but the whole team is going to be rezzed up. Again, really good fighting here by Busy, counteracted by Melophobia's big ult, but the team was essentially playing for that at that point, just fall on the cart and get ready for res, and that's exactly what they did, as we see the Psionic go out right now. And it does find the tracking on the Shocker, who's very low. Does that make... Oh, it does not find the pick, down to virtually like 10 HP. Shocker going to commit that all, makes you CC immune, looking up towards SJW. That is going to be a mean Psionic. Can that find SJW? Great positioning here.
Huge positioning to kind of play that pillar, make sure they're not seduced on the inside. There goes the whale, but no connection again, except no, they found Ricky and able to follow up as Redis.
And another turn back around as a Madian commits. Ooh, but he falls from the side of Prince. Redis with a pick. Prince again onto Craze. And they're walking with 2 minutes and almost 30 on. Busy at work. Does not have long to go. Nemesis needs to clutch up. No ults available. But Axry will be close with Hulk. We've seen Axry in these neutrals get a ton of value with Hulk. But this ult could be massive with nothing to counter.
Yeah, well timed by Redis on that flank to fall back at the right time, sort of take the right angles, then drop back to his team with these Gamma Squids. Not falling as Shocker, though, barely alive, and he's in the front line with the Madian's Blaster Barrage, and they've also forced out a Hulk ultimate, too, and actually getting out of Hulk form back into Bruce Banner.
Yeah, way to play around that and shut down Hulk. I really thought that was going to get a ton of value in the current situation. So, again, just good patience and way to commit at the right times into the side of Busy at work. Well done, Nemesis. So, Shocker now going to be ready with the Rage of Ultron. We have Crazeman ready with the Feast of the Abyss, and the res ready from Melophobia once more. Shocker going to commit that Rage. Zero meta going to match it right back with the Fate, and they are going to keep it moving forward on the point, which is now just meters away from Busy at work, taking this map and making it a 1-1 series.
Together.
Huge grab from Scatter. He's been difference maker. Sonic Seduction used, but everybody avoids it yet again. Nemesis has to play perfect. We're at the very end of the map. They use Eternal Bond. They use Sonic Seduction, at least for Busy at work side. They only committed that Sonic Seduction. But right now, this Bruce Banner is going to be incredibly sad about the current situation he's in and being staggered to the very last bit.
Yeah, and that's smart play. Buy time with Bruce, especially if there's no way for Bruce to off map and force the stagger. It's serious time on clock, and when you're down to a minute, every second counts. As we start once more, busy at work now with virtually 4 alts ready, 3, and we will see Nemesis ready with 3 as well. Who gets more value? We'll find out shortly. Gonna have the res ready from Melophobia, which could be massive. Potentially having that self-res up as well to buy more time and get better positioning. And Madian gonna be matched right back by SJW, who is popping off, get it 2. Will he get more? Walking into the smoke now on the res. Melophobia brings back 3. Redis gonna find Melophobia. Silent onto Craze. Melophobia gonna bring back Craze. Redis now onto Ricky, and this is a dangerous spot to have Namor squids at when the res comes through, and this could be huge for Busy now, who are trying to take this map now and take out Shocker, and it's looking in their favor with no ultimates left for Nemesis. Redis takes out Melophobia. 0 gets a pick, and they are walking forward and should have this point.
Wow, they get it done. They beat Nemesis on a big map to do it. Hauled the jaw. You tied up 1-1 now between Busy at Work and Nemesis. And that it all came down to that very end, like you said, Shib. I mean, Melo trying to duel out Redis in that 1 versus 1. Redis has that right side peak, and unfortunately, it doesn't matter how good of aim you have in that situation. You're gonna lose that fight in a third-person shooter all the time, basically, right? So unfortunately for Melo, he goes down, and that ties up the series 1-1 in a fantastic team effort again by Busy at Work across the board. I mean, over 10 final hits is a rare sight to see for more than 4 people. That's got to be I don't know if it's a record necessarily, shit, but that is still impressive feat to get done.
Yeah, I mean, that is some really strong work right there. Obviously, the map selected here by Busy at Work, so definitely a map they're comfortable with, but they look to lights out. Look at SJW's stat line. 61-2 with 16 finals. Redis with 18, 17 for Prince, and 12 for Axe3. The whole team performing in that moment.
Oh my, I mean, that's got to be one of the most dominant solar performances we've seen, alongside Redis showing up. Redis off of the Ultron onto that Namor, able to just kind of do so much, right? Just able to hit the right, try it into the correct time. Was always in that elimination feed, really when you needed him most, it seemed like, Shib. So at the current moment, they're coming back, and they might have some momentum on their sides if we enter, or when we enter that third map.
Yeah, I mean, this is what they needed. They needed the momentum to shift. We talked about momentum being a huge factor, and it really looked good there. They held them before point 3, and honestly, they got point 1 in less than a minute, it seemed like. Just flew right through it and just kept the momentum moving for point 2. Plenty of time there for 3. 3 was a pretty good stall there by Nemesis, but ultimately, Busy at Work just kept the momentum forward and just kept forcing ults out until they were up an advantage, and then just played insane off of that res from Melophobia. They found virtually everybody instantly, even through that additional health.
And this is the interesting contrast, Shib. Like, what's your take on the fact that Adam Warlock seemingly is falling out of the meta as SJW is our MVP? It's interesting that, we've seen Mantis pop off, we've seen Jeff, but in this case, I don't know, man. It feels like you can outpace the Adam Warlock at times.
Yeah, I feel like it's just a matter of the duelists. I think that Star-Lord seemingly does a really good job, and so does Namor, into those reses, just due to the fact that, you could throw squids on the high side post-res, and the team's never going to instantly be looking upwards to try to find where those are at. And if there's commitment from a Star-Lord Blaster Barrage, that HP pool, that additional HP is going to be falling significantly quicker, and they've got virtually the whole team in seconds after the res. So that was what won them the fight, and then they just followed up from there to clean up the rest. So again, Busy at Work, doing what needs to be done at the right time.
And also, by the way, for our viewership, we have a new feature, I believe, too, that came in the recent patches. We can now look at the tournaments, right? Back on if you want to watch any of the Ignite series back in the replay, you definitely can if you want to watch back those games. So make sure to do so and watch back some of these insane players, because, I mean, I imagine a lot of people want to see SJW's POV, Rita's POV and stuff. They're going to take a look at that after the series. But we're going to go to a short break. We'll see you guys for map number 3 after this.
Welcome back, everyone, as we just witnessed Busy at Work absolutely pop off. 61 and 2, 54 and 8. An incredible performance here, looking like a refreshed team who want to take this series home. What'd you think?
Yeah, I mean, that's an incredible performance. I think that's what we expected out of this team, right? I think, Busy at Work at their peak has the most mechanical skill I've ever seen. Like, genuinely, I don't know, man, like everything in terms of their aim, in terms of their overall mechanical skill, they're one of the best, like, individual teams out there. The problem for them always comes down to, can they put it together, right? Can they find that team synergy at the right time? And that last map, I mean, kind of proved it, but also they still, relied off heavy individual performances from Regis popping off on Namor, and then same thing with, like you said, with SJW popping off too. I mean, having 4 players on their team have over 10 final hits and nearly almost 5 with another strategist, I mean, that was insane. And it's like you said, finding pickoffs too on Luna Snow on their backline. I think there was so much value in that for Busy at Work.
Yeah, and I think this is just a good example of a 2-2-2 comp that is working well into a triple strategist comp, and this may be the answer, right? Or at least, into this team, right? Like, you're trying to find solutions and things that work, and I think big alts, like you can force out Stratline ultimates with that Blaster Barrage. When you get the Blaster Barrage and you use that Galactic Legend there with Star-Lord, the Whales can take out strategists mid-ultimate. You have Hulk displacing teams throughout those ultimates, and then Emma doing what Emma does. So just a good choice of heroes into a comp like this, although typically we don't see it have a ton of success. In this moment, it is absolutely working, but now the map selection will be chosen by Nemesis as we head into map 3.
All right, well, yeah, we'll have to see what they pick. I think that's going to be a big obviously, like I mentioned, it's a big factor, right? It's Nemesis's choice to go to the best map for them, and it will be a convoy, right? So Aegis of Path is something we've seen previously. In this case, it's going to be Midtown. We've seen it today too, Shib, and they think they're good on this map. We'll have to see if it's actually the case, as Nemesis are the red team, I believe, and Busy at Work is the blue team currently. And early on, Emma Frostband already for the side of Nemesis, getting rid of that character, and not Mantis this time around.
Yeah, that's not a bad change. Like, the whole goal here is to try to find a way to shake things up, especially if you struggle like that. If they, at the end, they struggled a bit. They looked very good on attack, and then on their defense definitely crumbled. So changing things up is definitely the solution, or an idea of a solution, as we see a more traditional Mantis Luna ban out here from the opposition.
And getting rid of that keeping Magneto has been something we've seen on this map too. Once we go over to these convoys, a lot of target towards vanguards come through, so they're not even protecting Luna Snow. I think that's the wrinkle that the side of Busy at Work needed, because of the fact that, yeah, they really haven't had a Luna Snow ban versus them. They haven't had to prioritize it. We don't really see a Luna Snow bans these days. So that makes sense to protect Magneto, protect one of their vanguards, considering you already have Emma banned. You need a lot of damage now on your side.
Yeah, not nearly as much for sure. Mantis definitely taking the mantle there in terms of overall bans, and now we're going to see the ban out of Ultron, and like you said, locking in that Magneto I think is a good choice as well, because we've seen the side of Nemesis do a good job with that cloak, and Cloak and Dagger struggle into a strong Magneto, especially if it's not matched, just due to the nature of having that ult ready to counter at all times. Magneto in general does a great job of countering strategist ultimates. It can definitely be one of those selections that help heavy into a triple strategist comp.
Yeah, and from what we've seen Prince do on Magneto too, it makes sense for him to have that hero if they're not going to have that Emma Frost. Still don't fully agree with the Luna Snow Protect. I don't think that Nemesis were ever thinking about banning that hero. But at the moment, they know Busy at Work are not really planning to play triple strategist, right? Nemesis is of Busy at Work strategy. So they're only getting rid of Mantis, the one that they think is the strongest hero in that composition. And then, meanwhile, for Busy at Work, they're trying to figure out, poke and prod how to deal with Nemesis and their triple comps. And it seems like giving the Adam Warlock has been a concession that has worked out for them throughout the series.
Yep, and we will be heading to Midtown once more. This is going to be the convoy selected by Nemesis. Curious to see the comps they will run. Right now, they are going to be attacking, so that is going to be the shake they have. It looks like they're showing a more traditional into triple comp Storm to help damage boost whatever duelist they want to pocket in that moment, just to get ults for days into some of these more beefy vanguards. But, like we had just mentioned, not a lot of triple being run here by Busy at Work, so they may not even need to run this comp.
Yeah, it's a good point. I think that at the moment, for Busy at Work, we know what they're trying to play generally. The King comps haven't worked out too much, right? Relying on one player like a heavy amount hasn't panned out for them exactly. And we've seen, I think, the ideology between banning generally for Marvel Rivals esports or being map specific with your bans. We saw Envy do map specific bans against Intergalactic. Intergalactic just trying to do the same thing over and over again. Didn't pan out. This time around, it seems like Nemesis are sort of changing things on a map-to-map basis, busy at work. Meanwhile, still get to play that triple Vanguard, triple Strategist composition on their hold.
And we will start again once more, folks. So the Median going to be on that Storm. We see Busy at Work they are going to be running that triple composition this time with a little less traditional Cap and Thing at the same time. And the momentum is still moving forward here from Nemesis. They look like they're doing what they need to do to take the space back. And just a ton of damage on the front line. Crazy Man going to find 0 meta, but Prince right back on to the Jeff of Shocker, who is Ricky onto Prince to get that trade. And still Nemesis should be up in numbers now just by 1. No major res coming through as the res should be gone here now from Redis, and the momentum is still going up. We go to the Kraken Impact from Melophobia, which does find SJW. Make that a second Kraken Impact. That one does not land, however. Instead, they're going to get rid of the Sia quickly, and Rocket doing Rocket things all over the place. But goodbye to Redis now as Melophobia finds a 2-piece. Looking now towards the back line. Make it 3, why don't you?
Yeah, oddly enough, I actually really like what the side of Intergalactic did earlier on that dive. You know, we saw that 3-2-1 to backline. They sort of leave Kraz to go for that dive and deal with the Captain America of Prince, who's now over to Doctor Strange or the portal towards that ambulance side, going for that early fight.
And we begin again. Shocker here on the Jeff. Going to keep that spray out and ready for the Itch Jeff at any moment. This is another one of those Jeff maps. Not a ton of off-map potential until you get to point 2. And instead, is going to be for the NATO. As a Median is going to come in here. And this one was Shocker. And this one does work out on a 2-piece. And the res comes through for SJW. But a great clobbering time to try to counteract after the fact. The Median still full HP. Might have to juke the Meteor. And that does land on a shield as SJW not able to make that one happen in that moment.
Yeah, huge shield from Scatter, who has been phenomenal this series. Vanguard play has been at the pinnacle in terms of the must-watch. Right now, you can see Scatter saving the team with that block, and now there's no more ults on the side of Busy at Work. They just commit that, see you later, and now they're collapsed on by Nemesis with all that damage from Storm.
Prince tried to launch the eye there, but a great utilization from Melophobia on the Kraken Impact, using it as an iframe, which you actually can as you are CC immune, to dodge the strange ult and still try to get value. Not able to make value happen after the fact, but it still kept them healthy and moving forward. But again, the retake here by Busy at Work post-portal, is holding exactly where they need to. SJW going to find Scatter now as they keep the pressure on and holding them early on. Again, Nemesis got to regroup and start once more, but they will have ult advantage in this next fight.
Hey, usually you don't see teams actually win this many fights so far. Nemesis sort of faltering, but here comes that combination. Like you said, Magneto's inside, goes down, and so does Silent Blaze. 2 down removed. All ready for Busy at Work, and there's no res to bring them back.
We haven't seen a ton of the Jeff NATO here in this level of play. Clearly working with a cleanup here from Melophobia with a 2-piece, and Craze going to find Prince. They will have one more touch at it with 60 seconds left. Busy at Work doing what they need to on this triple composition that we, had maybe not expected as much success from them, but they're doing a great job of it here. And it's all about, can they get some early value, because again, ults will be available for Busy at Work just slightly with an advantage. Scatter going to try to keep that pressure and space up with the Psionic as Prince going to walk forward and use that shield to shut down that LOS. Melophobia onto Axry early, gives them a bit of an advantage once more. Prince is low as Craze gets that pick. Res comes up for Axry. Will they retake a meter left on the push, and they get point 1.
That was interesting. I mean, Redis just chucked his See You Later out there in the middle of the open to get blasted by Nemesis. I mean, I don't know what the idea is behind that. Maybe you can keep it alive. The idea is obviously to swap the Jeff. Regardless, they didn't really feel confident in that comp, I guess, after that sort of happened, especially with those Itch Jeff and Jeff NATOs that you mentioned earlier. But Nemesis now in the streets phase of the map, second phase, 2 minutes and 30 seconds left to go. This is really where Busy at Work is going to get a lot of their work done right now. They need to win fights back to back to back, especially with these speed boosts from the Jeff onto their blaster barrages with SJW.
And we will begin once more. Craze trying to take that high side positioning, ready to deal some damage to Axry on the backside, immediately putting pressure onto the strategist line, and they do follow suit as Shocker is going to take out Zero. Amadian onto Silent, and SJW goes down. Amadian again onto Redis, and that is a huge follow-up on the initiation there. Nemesis using this momentum once more, and we'll have Jeff NATO again for the next fight.
And they're going to have invisible boundary, but then there's, like you said, that Jeff that's going to be there. They concede it. They give up the second phase off of a single fight, Shib.
Wow.
Huge work by Nemesis there. The damage has been overwhelming, and this has been the biggest problem for Busy at Work is their triple comps, triple strategist 2-1 compositions have not been the best.
Prince gonna find a Median and Melophobia there. SJW to keep that pressure forward and is gonna take out Scatter. And they do retake now while the point is still very low. They're gonna try to hold down here, which I have seen before in ladder, but not quite yet at this level of play. It can have, it's essentially like a swapping spawn type situation where they will play on the low side as if they are attacking and just trying to stay on points and make sure it does not move. And Nemesis does have ult advantage as we are gonna see this Jeff NATO be committed. Will this get value once again? Oh, they are going to use Luna. Will they be able to make it happen through the ult? It looks like they're staying healthy, and I lied as Prince goes down.
And Prince goes down, but they're still alive with the invisible boundary, and they stall it out. I mean, Mello, oh, wow. Finds Zero even through that. Huge work from him.
Oh, great idea again with the iframe to try to commit on Jeff, and Melophobia is going to get that two-piece. That is huge, and great play here by Melophobia to find a quad. Absolutely disgusting in that moment. That was a huge ult, too.
Yeah, it's as you said, Shib. Mello, if you missed it, just dodged that Jeff. It's Jeff. With the Kraken impact into the sky, just jumps over it, you know, sort of becoming a long jumper in that situation. The Kraken giving him the boost they desperately needed. Now we're going to the last point of the phase, and we're started off with a Freedom Charge from Busy at Work, but they have nothing after this into that Sonic Seduction to slow down this push.
And actually going to commit now with the Freedom Charge just to try to get some momentum back in their favor. Busy at Work definitely on their heels right now as Nemesis is looking clean. But remember, only a minute 40 on. So although it was looking back and forth, the fights were taking place essentially at the spawn door. So it doesn't matter that they lost those fights now as we're seeing a comeback here. Crane's going to find Silent. SJW going to get one. Will they find another now? He does not. Scatter going to be taking out Axery. And that's another for the side of Nemesis. We're still getting this point moving as SJW drops back towards the team to retake for a potential final fight.
You know, we're entering the last stages of the map, and you wouldn't think this comp would do so well with the Storm and the Bucky. There's overwhelming damage, sure, but they're against that more traditional style. Bubbles used, blasters used, but everybody's still alive. Good heals by Nemesis at the current moment.
And up we go. It's Jeff just waiting and biding time until that Magneto Meteor M goes out. Is going to find one. Can they get off map? Redis is going to be able to do so. You can't spit in that moment just due to the fact that there is an out. Again, good idea. You might have had a commit there, but it might have been too risky to fall off in that moment. The trade may have not been worth. Shocker. Gonna find Prince, though. Busy at Work. Down once more in numbers as we see the comeback this time from the side of another Jeff NATO with a Median. Takes out Zero. Goodbye to Redis. Keeping this momentum forward. A Median. Gotta find one with Mello. Takes out SJW. Melophobia is popping off here on the Bucky, showcasing why Bucky is still very much in the meta. And that could be enough here for them to get point 3 as the numbers are dwindling. What? And they do it.
Yeah, even he canceled that Venom ult to the very end, unfortunately, for Axery. And it's like you said, I mean, Mello is such a smart player. I think that this whole team is, in general, very high level in terms of how they think about the game. So really good work at the very end. Mello, his flexibility as well has been phenomenal. I think these days he's been able to play the Bucky, like you said. Also, you know, plays Jeff, plays the Torch. I think that he plays kind of all the characters that are especially meta and especially very good. But at the moment, Nemesis close out on the map, and we haven't seen that today, at least, a full closeout of Midtown. So impressive stuff from Nemesis. Considering how that first point, I mean, they looked lost at points, right, Chip? Like, they were losing fights that you wouldn't think a team would lose against that triple Vanguard, triple strategist comp.
Yeah, I'm with you. I mean, I think you're right. I think that was the Jeff NATO really took them by surprise in how successful it was. We're going to see SJW now is going to be on that Storm. The stat line's looking very different than last time, but this is another one of those maps where if you get rolled, I have seen plenty of times you can roll right back even at this level of play and get into those OT situations. It would not be the first time, but again, shout out to Melophobia. 16 finals. Bucky does a good job of claiming finals because as long as that ult lands, they are yours. If the KO comes through, it's something to keep in mind, but still 16 with 21k damage after that first round is wild. A Median with 9 and 21 as well.
Well, at least in the benefit too for Busy at Work is, Shib, that they don't have to play against that Storm comp anymore. Like, they don't have to. I mean, Zero had like 9 eliminations onto him just through that Storm alone. Even though they were doing well at times, it was, I mean, just poor guy. He's just getting smoked by a Storm ult every single time. Now Nemesis has to go against that ult in their own, or fight in their own, and they're actually going Penny Parker against this, you know, composition. This is the sort of old strategy for Nemesis to play Penny Parker on the triple.
Yeah, I know Penny mains are stoked right now. All three of them are losing their minds as Scatter gets a two-piece. Definitely one of those maps where you can make something happen here, especially with Rocket on the table, getting those spawners out on weird angles and forcing your team to try to look at spawners instead of heroes. And that is a ton of value as, again, right at the door here, Crazy Man on SJW. Ricky now going to just try to find a line onto the front line. This is a crazy hold, and it's working already with almost a minute off the clock.
Yeah, they're kind of forcing Busy Work to figure out something to do as like a team, because that's the one downside of Busy Work is because they rely so heavily on mechanical skill. You know, at times it takes a few maps to even learn what you're going against. You have the Moon Knight ult available, but you lose Silent again, and these staggers have been brutal. Trading it back though is huge on the Melophobia. But he's raised.
Yeah, as we start once more, Redis is going to be on the Moon Knight. Moon Knight is very, very strong pick into the specific composition, trying to break some of this equipment and get things bouncing. We are going to see Craze potentially ready to use the Psionic. Once this wall goes down again, forcing ults here at the door is a good play here for Nemesis. And out we go with a potential. There it is. It is going to land as the moon is raining down. And they are going to commit heavy now as we see Penny get out into the mix and spread some of those mines. Actually not able to land the Meteor Ram. The team still holding out the door so far. This is wild to see, but the Hurricane coming in. They need to counter out. They're up in the sky with the Meteor, looking towards the back line now. The patty caking begins. Will it be enough for them to stay healthy? Great patty caking as they do stay in the fight so far.
Oh, and the stun too from the Penny Parker on the Prince's ult. His Eye of Agamotto completely negated because of that. And at the moment, Nemesis are looking dominant with this spawn hold, man. 2 minutes off the clock already. The job is already sort of done for them in terms of this tandem. And you can see, I mean, Busy Work definitely living up their name. They're busy at work. How much damage is being output right now, and no eliminations are being found. Huge job from Nemesis right now at the current moment.
Yeah, this is a huge momentum shift. I mean, this looks like a totally different battle in this moment compared to what we saw on map 2. Amadian going to be resin back Melophobia after that pick. Still in as actually now gets scattered. That one, though, will not be able to be matched right back as we do see the boundary pop here from Silent. Prince ready with the Eye of Agamotto. That was canceled. Redis and Zero Meta as well. Scatter going to get ready for the teleport back as Shocker falls. And we will see virtually the entire team just fall on point. Notice, folks, how everybody is touching the point when they go down. Why not make sure that thing does not move before you fall? There's no reason to run.
It's interesting. They're actually going for a safer portal this time. I think before we've seen those aggressive portals, but they're actually giving this portal a spot for their strategists to set up towards that staircase because they're going to be hard to root or to disrupt and to really remove from the back line, as well as Prince is going to set up an Eye of Agamotto. But you see how much distance is between him and those strategists. This is exactly what Nemesis wanted.
Yeah, I think that was a really smart portal. That is some smart team strategy. Redis is going to find one onto Scatter, though, and still looking for more now onto Craze, who is very low. Great focus there. Redis now taking height. Craze Mang is down. Again, we got to find a pick this time. Is going to be Amadian who gets a pick on the Rocket, who is very, very threatening up close there with that Gat. Down we come with the Hurricane. There is no major patty kick. Yes, there is, as they do it once more. They are getting focused by everyone, but the patty kick was just insane. Still, Prince going to find those picks onto Ricky and Scatter. Zero Meta onto Scatter. Goodbye to Amadian from Prince and SJW and Melophobia. But, you know, huge shouts here from the strategists on Nemesis, who are just doing a really good job in focusing patty cake in those moments through these Hurricanes.
Yeah, it's huge for sure. We've seen teams do this before, right? We've seen before, you know, Busy Work almost first point hold and get snowballed, right? So Nemesis, they could potentially still lose here in overtime. Right now, I have a Agamotto from Prince.
It was a great idea. It does find one, but the team is going to rally around and keep them healthy. Good touch to make sure that was not given away. And out goes a reverse eye. This one does land. Doesn't get value inside of the invis. It does, but it is not enough as Psychi Light as SJW goes down. Melophobia now going to try to walk forward and keep the pressure on. The claws are at 100. The lifesteal is wild. And can they keep this going in terms of the percentage damage? Excuse me, ready with the last stand now, which could be giant on this front line. Is going to go right towards the back. Is only finding one, but that is enough at the moment as OT is ticking now. The point is theirs, and out goes Zero Meta's dance floor. Will this be enough for them to retake with a portal, or is it going to be a W for the side of Nemesis on point 1?
They have to switch X3 over. Prince off of that Doctor Strange, having to go to the Loki, but it's not enough. Portal's not there in time. Job done for Nemesis. They finish off Busy at Work, winning 2-1 and progressing in this lower bracket. That was an incredibly close series, though, again, that we just seen back-to-back Shib. Phenomenal series out of Busy at Work and Team Nemesis.
Yeah, Nemesis looked like they were, that was clearly the map selected by them. They looked lights out there on that defense and even on the attack. I mean, there were some moments in the attack where they struggled, but it would not have mattered as they did progress the whole thing and held on point one. That comp on defense with the Penny was wildly successful. I'm excited to get their take on that. But yeah, again, Melophobia, 21 finals there. 37-5, 35 or 31-5 there for a median. Craze with a 33-2. I mean, the whole stat line across the board, everybody showed up in that moment.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, right now, Nemesis, right, huge team play, like you said. They really kind of just had the game figured out, and that's the tough part for Busy at Work. I think that, they have the mechanical skill. We'll have to see them in the future tournaments, but right now, it's not enough to carry you, right? Just pure mechanical skill. You have to kind of adapt. You have to make these changes, figure out how to play against certain compositions. And they seemingly had that 3-3 comp down. I mean, there were times where Nemesis struggled against it as well. But, against it themselves, they definitely struggled. And Team Nemesis get it done to move on forward and also secure themselves into that playoff. And that's the most important thing for this team right now, who got sent to the lower brackets in maybe a surprising fashion to them by Team Sentinels.
Yeah, I think another big brain banning strategy there we got to highlight for Nemesis was getting rid of the Phoenix and then having the Jeff NATO. And this play, you got to shout out this play here, Melophobia onto the Jeff, turning and getting that pick and then getting even more value after the fact. Saving the entire team was giant and helped them move forward. Although, again, held on point one, wouldn't have mattered at that point. But yeah, I mean, that ban of Phoenix really enables Jeff NATO to get far more value, because if you come in with the Phoenix, all of that additional HP on Storm is immediately wiped. She's left with, at most less than 100 HP, and your team can follow up and clean that up prior to the Jeff NATO coming through. So it enabled them to make that happen there on their attack, and they use it to its fullest extent.
And for a team that really excelled playing Phoenix, and the fact that they had it banned against them every single time, I think Busy at Work made it a lot farther than I imagined that they could have ever dreamed of, right? I mean, this team, just to be able to play Phoenix and then getting it banned every game is rough, right? And now the Nemesis wins. We get a chat with one of their players in a second, but we have an MVP as well to hand out too for Team Nemesis, who obviously it was Melophobia in our case. I think you talked about him before. This guy really has leveled up consistently throughout the history of Marvel Rivals Esports.
Yeah, just a ton of different heroes selected here. It'd be funny to hover over Melophobia in that game alone on the different heroes that were played. But yeah, just a ton of different heroes and finding value with every last one of them. We saw some big Bucky plays there, ending the first round with 15, and Steel wasn't afraid to pull out some Vanguards, was able to go in the strategist role if need be, all over the place, and ending in the MVP slot. Just a ton of value on Melophobia. Well done again.
Yeah, well done indeed. And Nemesis to move on forward is huge, right? We still have 2 more games, in fact, today, Shib, and it feels like we're only getting started, or it feels like we've actually already entered some of the most exciting games of the day, even, because it's kind of hard to top that one, and it's hard to top that first game that we saw. So an exciting matchup for sure. And we get to interview, I believe, one of the Nemesis players as well from that incredible series between Nemesis and Busy at Work. What's going on? How's it going, honestly, over there? I believe it's Chonka, right? How you doing over there?
I'm doing great. How are you guys doing?
Doing good. Congrats on the win. Congrats on the win also in that lineup. A tough game, but obviously it was a 2-1 for you guys. How are you feeling after that series now that you guys are, moving forward in this lower bracket?
Definitely relieved. The second map got a little hectic in the comms for sure. A couple fight plans were a little hectic, especially in those overtime situations. But after we made some adaptations, took them to Midtown, we knew we were comfortable there. We closed it out. So proud of the boys. I'm just glad this is actually my first match for Nemesis. I haven't played since getting signed, so it feels really good. The last time I did play an official was the Shroud tournament, which feels like forever ago now. And I'm just glad I, was able to win that game, because I do not know how I would have felt if we had lost that. So proud of the boys.
Stepping up in the moment is huge. You talked a bit about comms and them getting crazy. Clearly, comms and alt tracking has to be super important with your team, running some of the cloak and dagger plays into things like Namor and even Magneto, right? Which can be tough. So can you describe a bit about how your team handles comms and how the alt tracking is laid out? Because it looked really good.
Yeah, each person on their team has their own unique roles. Ricky's our primary ult tracker. Scatter's our primary fight planner. And then Krasmang does a lot of the engage mid-fight calls. Obviously, being on Venom, that's kind of a given. But yeah, every time we were able to get that consistent alt-track fight plan, mid-fight stage comp structure set out, I don't think we've ever lost a fight. And, you know, it's just nerves of the official, especially playing with me for the first time in official. Sometimes it can get a little hectic. I didn't play my best, obviously. But, you know, when all those things are working together, like gears in a cog, like, we're going to win every game.
Yeah, map 1, you had a pretty dominant performance on Ultron, it felt like. I mean, I don't know, like it does, you know, bring a few questions into it, right? Are you the full-time starter now over Dinks on that side? Or, you know, are things still maybe up in the air? Or are you guys still trialing some stuff out roster-wise?
Yeah, funny story, Dinks is on vacation. So Dinks decided to take a 1 week break from competition. So it just happened to be the perfect meta for me to step in with the Atom, with the Ultron, my two favorites, being very meta relevant. So it's exciting. We'll see if Dinks is back. We'll see if they stick with me. Obviously, that's still up in the air. But we still got more matches this week, so not enough time to focus on the roster, and we got to focus on those games.
Yeah, I mean, coming into a team that is storied and has been playing together for a while and jumping into the vibe. What's the team vibes like being the new guy? Are they welcoming you in with open arms, or how does that look?
I mean, we're all homies as a team. We've been together since the start of the game, most of us. So it's just a matter of getting me integrated in terms of like what they expect from Dinks. Just got to kind of, in terms of comms and like play style, I just got to learn like what Dinks does. So I kind of slot in, and we don't have to change like kind of the whole way we play as a team with me. Because I like to think of myself as a pretty aggressive support player, taking these stupid off angles on Atom and Ultron, trying to flank, get a couple kills. But you know, in an official, especially with all the stress being my first game with Nemesis, I got to kind of rein that in a little bit. But you know, when we slot in the team, like I said earlier, if we all work together, do the same thing, we are winning every game.
Awesome.
I love it. I love it. Support the play style. And, you know, obviously I love that play style too. The aggressive strategist is something I enjoy. So huge shout out to you, man. And obviously, you know, give you any last words now. Is there anything you want to say before we let you go? I mean, it's your first time on interview, obviously, here today, but, you know, it's awesome to see you play. Any last shout outs or something you want to maybe say about Nemesis or your future opponents?
Yeah, just shout out the boys for not, you know, losing any faith when we had to make some swaps with the roster, swaps with the meta, and just keeping faith in each other above all else. And I think that's the most important thing that goes into any team, is just having faith in each other no matter what goes wrong. Ricky dies out of a cloak ult. We're still locked in. I beat Ultron. I died 4 times on that first point at Krakoa. Like, my team still has faith that we're going to close it out in the end. And that's what I think makes Nemesis so special.
Awesome. Great answers across the board. Thanks for jumping on. You seem really good at interviews coming in your first one here. Absolutely dominating it. So thank you for your time as always, buddy.
And thanks.
Thank you, guys.
Awesome. Well, hey, jumping in as the new guy into Nemesis, a team that has been together forever, and taking the slot of someone who's on vacation at the moment with Dinks and performing. So again, what a performance there by Nemesis. Map 2, though, that was a tough one. I thought the momentum might shift, but instead it did not. Now we're looking here. Dreamland and Fire Strays coming up in our next series. You and I both have Dreamland, I believe.
I think so. Yeah, we predicted the same series throughout the day, but Fire Stray is not a team to doubt. You know, we've heard from the coach over at Rad that Fire Strays is a good team, and you know, there's a bias there with Super Gomez being on the roster. You know, formerly of Sentinels as well, is the coach of Rad. But before we have that match, I believe we have a short break, so don't go anywhere. Oh wait, we have something else I think Shib going on, but regardless, Dreamland versus Fire Stray is coming up in just a second. And we have also the Hellaskin that's available, Shib. And I know you have a lot to say about her. I definitely do as well.
Yeah, I mean, hey, this Hellaskin, you know, it's one of those Hellasskins that does not have the cape, the Grim Lady. This skin is very cool. Make sure you get your eyes on Hella. Going to be taking a little push forward in the meta a little bit here coming up in the new patch. We're able to use that bird cooldown a little bit faster, and you come out with additional HP similar to Star-Lord. So if you're into Hella, cop that skin, because I promise she is going to be very strong in the next season. But before we dive into our next series, now we will be tossing it to a short break.